welcome to another episode of the Kis Uni Video Series. I'm your host, Farid. Today we have a very special guest. She is a graduate of NUST University with an impressive 3.94 GPA. She was the press secretary of the NUST Environmental Club, as well as the director of publications of their media club. She has interned at WWF, Climate Change Adaptation, Nestle, and most recently is a research associate at the Truth International. Today we have Adeena Tahir as our guest.
Thank you for having me, and hello to everyone who's watching. And I think that I am already on the hit list of a lot of students because they'll be like, she has a CGPA that's almost 4. She's too nerd to be here.
Yeah, that is true. So let's start off from the very beginning. You did your A levels from Beacon House.
Yeah, that's where I went. So I did,
How would you describe that journey? I mean, obviously that journey was, I'm pretty sure, much easier to what right now. So describe that journey in 3 words. I know it's probably easier than what you're doing right now. So what was it like?
Yeah, I was, before A levels, I used to be in an all-girls school, which was OPF Girls College. So when I went to my A levels, it was a huge transition for me. In that, college, everybody in high school was thinking about where they want to be 2 years ahead. So, a lot of people used to face a lot of stress and anxiety. And then obviously A levels is tough as well. I've heard a lot about, students taking extra classes, be it academies and everything. So everybody was just busy and it was a tough place to be in. Luckily, I think that studies was something that I didn't struggle with that much. I think that it's probably because I always used to have a schedule that, when you have exams, you study for exams 1 month before, and then the rest of the year I was pretty much okay with the things happening. And when it came to the whole burden of universities and how I would, choose them, at that stage in my life, I knew that I wouldn't be applying abroad. So that did take one, burden off of me. And when it came to Pakistani universities, I thought like a lot of teenagers actually do, because they're unable to make decisions because they don't have any information. So I used to think that, okay, once I'll do my A levels and then I'll think about it. And that is when those 3 months after A levels hit me really bad, because a lot of students during their A levels periods, they don't get mentoring and guidance on choosing universities in Pakistan. Usually you get mentoring if you're applying abroad.
Yeah.
So if you're a student applying in Pakistan, then the 3 months after your A levels exams are just they're an emotional roller coaster. Yeah.
So, but then you went on, you got into NUST. So how was that transition, from school life to college life? How was that? What was different about it? Was it intense studying? Was it, trying to make contacts in university? Was it generally the courses that you took? Was it, did you have more leisure activities or, more events in college? So describe that transition a bit.
Okay, so first I'll describe the process of getting into NUST. So even though I had straight A's, I realized instantly that they didn't really matter as such, because I had to be tested for my academic skills all over again, aka your admission test, right? So when I went to academy, I used to go to KIPS. I still don't know why I did that to myself. It was not worth it, to be honest. But it's just because when you used to go there, you used to get more stress because everyone used to emphasize on getting into the main universities, which was NUST, GK, and all of them. Yeah. So then the problem came that what do I want to do? So when I joined KIPS, which is an experience that I wouldn't recommend to a lot of people, because, at that time, what you need is mental peace to make a decision for yourself, and KIPS takes that away from you. It just keeps you in the loop of studying more and more, and you never get the time to sit down, meditate, and decide what you want to do for the rest of your life. So the thing is that, my father, he spent a very long career in journalism. So I had a natural liking towards things like international relations, things like mass communication. Then I was a good student in STEM subjects as well. And that made me think that, okay, but what if I want to go towards the engineering side? So there were a lot of options. And I'm glad that firstly, my parents were very open in allowing me to pursue my interests. And I decided that I wanted a job that's flexible, that has some interactions with nature as well, that could offer me a blended experience, like not a typical 9 to 5 job, but at the same time some sort of stability. So that's when I stumbled upon environmental engineering, and it just instantly captivated me, because here there was an engineering subject that obviously kept you in touch with STEM subjects, but at the same time, there was a possibility of me working in biodiversity conservation, or probably as a climate minister, and that really it took my interest. I thought that this is it. But when I came to university, I realized that I had basically all of the achievements that I've made so far, getting straight A's in A levels, doing everything, I had brought myself back to zero. And later on, I realized that that is a mutual experience. It's a common experience. When you go to university, it's literally starting a new chapter with nothing to support you, because in university, everybody is accomplished. But then I realized that I had to be the ambassador for it. I had to be the representative of what I'm doing. So I think that is where the whole journey of climate activism and advocacy started, that I realized that we as individuals, we have the power to convince other people, if we want, of what we are doing, because it's not easy to have allies with you all the time, but you can always build that support for yourself if you know how to represent yourself, if you know how to tell people what you are doing. If people find out the reasons why you are doing something, and if people can see the vision that you have in your head, then they start connecting with you. So that's what I started doing. We had orientation in 2018, which was my first event that I took part in at NAS, and there we had to welcome freshies. So when I was doing that, I made sure to show them around my department in a way that they could connect with it. So I'm pretty sure that at least the freshies that I assisted, they had a very good idea about what she's doing, whereas it was not the case when I entered NAS. So I think that being a good representative of what you are, what you see about yourself, is something that leads you far in university, because that is how you build a belief in yourself, and you see that people start believing you as well, because if you have a vision and people can see it, then they will follow.
That's actually really relatable, especially for A-level students and university students, to be able to connect with others and to get your points across to them very clearly. So, describe a bit about, how you navigated through university. Like, what were some of the toughest moments of university, and, to how extent did it help you with opportunities beyond the university, like such as your interest with the environment?
Yeah. So like I said, in college, those 2 years, I mainly focused on studies and having good friendships, but I wasn't able to get myself involved in any extracurricular activities, because I wasn't in the right place of mind at that time to, explore those things. So when I came to university, my first year was going pretty well, as in I had made friendships in my batch. Things were peaceful, I was understanding my studies as well. But there was a gap, obviously, and that gap was navigating your place in the overall fabric of university, not just in your batch. And I think that the moment of epiphany hit me when a career counselor came to our department, and that was almost at the end of our first year. And she told me that the reason why I'm coming to you right now and not 3 years later, not 4 years later, is because when you'll be graduating, students come with the last stage of cancer, which I think that it's a little insensitive, but at the same time, she was a career counselor with years of frustration built in her, seeing how students, don't focus on the fact that a university is a place where throughout those 4 years you build yourself, you build your professional skills. But hota ye hai ki all of the students approach her once they have graduated to get placements, and that is where she struggles. So she told me that you have to start right now. You have to take a step that ensures that you are pursuing your interests, exploring your interest, and also building skills that can later on be showed on your CV, skills and experiences. So summer vacation was coming, and I thought that this is something that I should look seriously into. So I immediately went to my career coordinator and I asked her if I can get an internship somewhere. And luckily, Pakistan Red Crescent had just started a new volunteering branch, which was for climate change. And that is where I got connected to, and I spent like 1.5 months over there. But the thing is that because it was a new branch and they were instantly looking to, launch a national level climate awareness campaign, the 1.5 months that I spent there, they were just, I think that is where the seeds were planted for whatever I am today. Because I had first thing is that I had so much fun. Like I didn't know that, when you think about being professional or when you think about workplaces, there's a stress associated to them, because you think that, oh my God, you'll be working with a boss, you'll be working with colleagues. So obviously you feel a little stressed. But when I was working there, because I was working for something that I had an interest in, I realized that it's fun to work, if it's aligning to your interests. Secondly, I'm so grateful for having a mentor at that workplace as well. And that is a very important thing that I would advise to any student, is finding a mentor. Because my journey has been filled with people that I, literally credit my success to, because they were professional mentors that gave me the confidence, the reassurity, and really allowed me to, continue with what I was doing. So that internship really changed things to the point that when I came back, I decided that even though I had never done extracurriculars at all in my college life, I'm going to take that chance. Because hota ye hai ki in university, you're either part of the people who are organizing events and taking part in societies, or
Yeah,
you're an observer. And it's very difficult to jump from the observer section to that section. You feel like you're not ready for it. So maine wo jump
yeah. And
isliye
even,
liya
I
because
mean,
of that
in school,
internship and that confidence they had built.
yeah, even in
Yeah,
school,
yeah.
you're like part of
Yes,
a
in school.
society or, multiple societies.
Yeah,
And then sometimes you can only be at the front of one society and not the others. And, students really have
true.
difficulty in deciding, okay, whether it's more towards public speaking,
Bilkul.
whether it's more towards science Olympiads. So, this goes
Yeah,
throughout
yeah.
all the levels. Vesa.
Bilkul. So I realized my skill for writing, and that's why I applied at NUST Media Club as a part of their writing team. And then because I had an interest for environment, so I joined the NUST Environment Society as well. So that's how I picked the two societies that I thought aligned to my interest. And because of that, then in the coming years, things really changed. I polished my writing skills, which later on helped me in freelancing, in getting part-time opportunities while I was studying. And at the same time, I also got a leadership position as the press secretary of NUST Environment Club just a year later. So I think that if anything can be taken out of this, is that yes, it's difficult to jump if you've always been an observer in life, but I think that you should take that jump after finding some support and gaining some confidence, by exploring a little. Yeah.
Yeah. And one thing that I would definitely agree with is, like, as you said in the beginning, to not go down the stereotypical route and burden yourself with, sort of doing everything. You should only do stuff that you think
Yeah.
will benefit you and will sort of shape your
True.
journey and
True.
not what everyone else is doing. And I feel like that's also one of the
Yeah.
main things people get frustrated at when they're in school, because they're constantly trying to do everything, like everything that everyone does,
True.
instead of just focusing on the one or two
Absolutely.
things that you click with.
Yeah. Yeah.
So,
Yeah. That's true. Connecting with yourself is important. Yeah.
yeah. So you also went on to win the gold medal at NAST. So how was the
Yeah.
moment for you?
The moment is still waiting because of COVID. We haven't had our
Oh.
official, what do they call it? Yeah, we haven't had an official convocation yet. So the gold medal is still waiting. But yeah, the title is there. So okay. So the experience of getting the gold medal, as in like earning that gold medal, was incredibly hard because हुआ ये था कि we were deciding our final year projects before COVID happened. Very unfortunate of us. So we were
Oh.
deciding, yeah, I think it was in 2019 December or something when we had to pick our teachers and we had to pitch our ideas. So मैं अगर shortly sum up कर सकूँ वो ये था कि I knew that so our department had some professors that were very famous in terms of the fact that their teams always do really well and they're the most senior one. So obviously एक वो natural वो होता है competition that you want to be on their side, right? So I knew that my professor, Dr. Sher Jamal, he was doing most of his research on septic tanks, and so that was one technology that I knew that he was doing. So what I did was that I picked that up. I went on Google Scholar and I started reading about innovation in septic tanks, like what is the new thing that is happening in that technology. And that's when I realized that there's another thing called anaerobic baffled reactors, and what's interesting was that they are a source of renewable energy. So I thought that that's really interesting because if I can have FIP in wastewater treatment and renewable energy, that would be good. So then the thing was how to connect the two of them. So I did research and I found that in some part of the world they're exploring anaerobic baffled reactors combined with microbial fuel cells for biosensing. So it was basically renewable energy generated from the treatment of wastewater, and the application of that renewable energy was that you can use it as a sensor, as a self-powering sensor. Then the big thing happened, and that was COVID, which literally changed every student's lives. So हमारे साथ when COVID happened, university shut down, labs shut down, everybody went back to their homes and started doing this distant learning mode of education. And we had to make the very tough decision of how to take the idea and do it purely virtually, home based, not even having access to labs and to professors on a daily basis. And that was so tough. But yeah, so then I decided that okay, let's build let's build it entirely on AutoCAD. So that would be a model that we can make in 3D.
Yeah.
And to build that model we will do our research, and then if we can, then we would try to create a coding program for the sensor that was supposed to be built by us. So we did that. So I think the one thing that I would say about my experience was that I actually learned a lot from my FIP, and that wasn't things like science based. The lessons that I learned was, first of all, being resourceful. Obviously I hadn't used internet the way I had to when I started doing an FIP based on internet, right? So the amount of tools that I found, there were so many data tools that I had never heard of. There are data tools, there are websites that help you build things, test things. So I think that being resourceful with internet is a lesson that I learned absolutely, and that was very crucial, especially in my career when I started as a researcher in development sector, where a huge part of your job is finding secondary data by desk research. So the whole skill for desk research came from that FIP. And then the second thing I learned was that how to be resilient and adaptive. That was very important, because the thing is that yes, all of us had a vision of our FIPs that was very different to what we were doing. But the thing is that if you can adapt to things, and adapting to things is very important, and that's what I learned. And the thing is, when things don't go as you had planned them, your first reaction is to just freeze and not accept the reality. But just in climate change, maybe it is happening, and there's a part of us where we have to fight climate change, but there's also a part where we have to adapt to climate change, right? Because the goal must be to survive a challenge, not just, freeze midway
Yeah.
through it and not accept it. So that's what I learned in my FYP. There had to be an acceptance ki ye ho raha hai, I have to adjust with it. And that is how, I work with my team. And my team, we weren't friends before the FYP experience, but I think that was very important, because that also gave me some team building skills as well.
Yeah. So let's wrap this up. One last question is, so you've explained most of your journey. So what advice would you give to people who are applying to college or, are graduating? What is one piece of advice that really helped you? Was it given, an advice that a mentor gave you, like you mentioned, or something that you went through? So any advice from your experience?
Acha. I think the biggest lesson would be कि, और ये चीज I think relevant रहती है आपके लिए हर स्टेज ऑफ लाइफ में, कि हम एक चीज सुनते हैं when we are in college कि इस डिग्री का स्कोप है और इस डिग्री का स्कोप नहीं है. And that is actually part of the reason why I didn't do a lot of things जो कि मैं सोचती हूँ कि आज भी अगर मैं करती तो मुझे वो भी मजा आता. Like if I had done international relations, वो मुझे मजा आता करने में, although I like my degree as well. But the thing about scope is कि हम लोगों को ये लगता है कि things have a scope, but we don't think that people is actually the important thing. Like we make our scopes, not things. So it's not our degree that decides कि आप professionally कितना आगे जाओगे. It's you at the end, because आपके जो credentials होते हैं, they remain on paper. You are the person who will walk up in an interview, talk to the interviewer. You are the person who gives a presentation. You are the face of everything, right? So just scope wala idea hai, that is very flawed. And especially in today's era, jabki we are finally learning that, we need a holistic approach to everything. When we talk about our future, we want to build it as the 17 SDGs, right? And agar aap un 17 SDGs ko hi dekhe, they cover everything. So like the 17 SDGs wants gender equality, right? So all of those people who are doing social sciences right now, they have a role to play. They want sanitation. That's where environmental engineers come in. They want industry innovation. They want everything. So the thing is that scope is out there for anything, but you have to build it yourself. And that is where it reinforces the thing that just do where you think you have a passion. So when you're picking a degree, honestly, never go for the idea of scope. Just pick a degree जहाँ आपको लगे कि आपका passion है. But एक important चीज ये भी है that always get it's best to get a consultation with somebody who's working in that role. Hota hai ki studying about something and then working are two very different things. So having that conversation with someone is very important, क्योंकि होता है कि a lot of us think कि अच्छा हमें डॉक्टर बनना है, but ये होता है कि अगर if you haven't talked to a doctor and you don't know the pros and cons, so a lot of people end up regretting. So I think it's very important to also have a conversation with someone who's already working. Scope का ना पूछिएगा, बस ये पूछिएगा कि what is life for you. बस ये पूछेगा कि like how do you go about your daily day. उससे आपको idea मिल जाएगा.
Or maybe
so,
to even
and the third thing is
be familiar with the work environment sort of stuff.
जी बिल्कुल बिल्कुल बिल्कुल. Getting acquainted with the work life is very important. फिर आपको होता है कि अच्छा आप ये कर लोगे, like ये आपके जो personal preferences है ये उस हिसाब से है. और अगर आपने passion से एक चीज choose कर ली है, if you are somewhat confident कि आप इसको professionally भी कर सकते हो, then just honestly explore as many opportunities as you can. It's never too late. मतलब मैंने college में कभी कोई extra curricular नहीं किया, university में I never left an opportunity, right? So initially taking that jump is difficult, but trust me कि inspiration and आपकी जो confidence है, that comes only after an experience, not before. Like if you don't embark on a journey, तो आप हमेशा you will never have that motivation in you. But once you are already en route somewhere, तो आपको लगेगा you can do this, क्योंकि experience helps you build confidence and skills जो कि आपको finally लगता है कि अच्छा you can do this. So I think that it's never too late to start. Always start. It's never too late. ये मेरा सबसे बड़ा advice होता है. So yeah, so I think these are the 3 advice that I would give.
That is actually some really valuable advice. And with this, we've reached an end for this episode. If you have any questions regarding university guidance, feel free to reach out to our Instagram page or our website, and we'll be tagging Adeena as well. So if any of you want to reach out to her, be sure to get into contact. We'll be tagging her Instagram handle. And thank you very much for tuning into this episode. And thank you so much, Adeena, for taking our time to be here. So
thank you so much for having me. It was really nice talking to you as well. Thank you to the
same.
team at Kis University. I think they're doing a splendid job. Yeah. And I hope the
Thank
audience
you.
likes it. And yes, aap questions bhej sakte hain, and I'll make sure to answer them.
Yeah. So thank you so much. Allah Hafiz.